Hey everybody, and welcome back to Cloud Conversations. My name is Peter Rising. I'm one of your hosts. Do bear with me if my video goes a little bit blurry here and there. I'm having connection issues today. Hopefully it will settle itself down as we get into the broadcast. But it's great to be back on Cloud because I can get my teeth in. Great to be back on Cloud Conversations with my great friend Azure McFarlane. How are you today, Azure?
Good morning. I think it's the aliens really just trying to beam you up.
Yeah,
they need you elsewhere.
I think
So
I think they've come to take me home. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But my heart is in space on other worlds.
Omnipresent.
Yeah, if anybody sees the screen, just go blank. We'll be like, oh, Pete's gone. He's that's it for today.
Shimmer away. They might beam me up whilst we're doing this. But,
Maybe we've got some fans like out in space. You never know.
Yeah.
Weirder things have happened. You just never know, do you? The world is that crazy. The universe is that crazy.
just a little bit. Okay, so we are joined today by a good friend of mine, Geetha Sivasailam. Welcome, Geetha. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, you guys. I'm pretty excited to be here.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm fangirling a little bit. Like, I know I've known you for a little. We've never met in person, at least not yet. But this is like the first time that I invited a guest onto the show, and Geetha's the first one, and you're just one of my favorite people. I'll put that out there.
Thanks for thinking of me. I really feel special.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said yes. I feel I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show Parks and Rec. But like Leslie Knope gives, Anne all these compliments. I'm going to be like, you're beautiful, talented, brilliant, powerful muskox, kind of feel.
I'm already on cloud 9 today.
Yeah, I wanted to start your Saturday off really, really well. Okay, so my first question is, did you wear your finest sweats today? Because I know we talked about outfits.
I am wearing sweats. I'm kind of like in the pajamas mode.
The pajamas.
Have something good on the top, and then I have my PJs at the bottom.
Yeah. I'm wearing my comfy, like stretchy yoga pants underneath. Yes, perfect. You are more than prepared, and you were super sweet yesterday to say like, oh, if we need to reschedule, because my mind has been elsewhere this week. Say like, oh, if we need to reschedule, and I was like, nope. This is it today or bust. So Geetha, why don't you introduce yourself to people who don't know you? Want to tell us about yourself, like where you work, what you specialize in, mother's maiden name, security, social security number, that kind of information.
Sure, I'll give you the last 4 digits. Well, hello everyone. I am Geetha Sivasailam. I am from Dallas, Texas, and I am a power addict. An enthusiast of all things Azure, Office 365, custom app dev, and of course the Power Platform. And I am quite passionate about fusion dev scenarios, and I love merging the worlds of pro devs and low-code devs together. And I work for Artist Consulting, which is based out of Dallas, Texas, a Microsoft partner. I'm a solutions architect with them.
I'm like, what don't you do? Because you use C# and everything else. Then
I started off as a pro dev, so I think that's how it all started. But now I'm enjoying this, having this combination of both worlds of being able to do low code and then being able to jump back into pro code. So much that you can do with these worlds getting together. I think it's just a revolution now.
It is. Okay, so how did you get to this point where you're doing like fusion dev and low code? Where did your journey start for tech?
I have to say, I think the first opportunity I had, there was a POC at the current company that we wanted to do for a client, and this was like back in late 2017 or early 2018. That's kind of like when this platform really came into life, and we're trying to do a POC with a custom connector because they wanted to connect to additional external services for this client. And I was trying to like dabble my way, how to create I know the pro code stuff. I'm not used to the low code stuff. I'm like, okay, now I got to shift my mind from thinking objects and classes, and now I'm going to think about like Excel and PowerPoint and try and get all this working. And we're trying to do that. And then it was fun because I was like, wow, I actually built something like in a day. I have a functioning working app in low code in a day, which would have taken me days or weeks to build. And I was like, this is amazing. But at the time, the platform was still evolving, right? There were little things that would have been nice to have been there. But now it's come a long way. There's just so much more today. And then there was a gaming competition at the time, like people started building games was, especially like all of our Power Addicts and community folks in Japan were just like blowing up the Twitter world with like all these cool games they would build with Power Platform, with apps, and trying to create games that would be like that would be similar to other things that we're used to, like Super Mario and things that you're used to seeing in the traditional gaming world. And there was the Power community, which is they were called those dynamic guys at the moment, and they put up a competition for building a game, and for anyone, and they would have some cool prizes and things like that. And I made the top 10, and I was like, wow. I used that as an opportunity to learn the tool too. I was like, hey, how about I build a game? Something that I already know, and I love doing this, where you already know the problem. You know how to. Now it's just the figuring out of like how are you going to solve it with these tools.
Yeah.
So I built a roulette game with.
That's your pinned tweet, isn't it? Yeah.
I never want to change it. I'm like, I'm so proud of what I did. Like my shameless plug there on Twitter.
Yes. Geetha's handle is there. Go check it out. It's really cute.
Oh yeah, go follow.
Thing that I did with the Power App, and I learned so much about it. And I think Brian Dang was the guest, and I think he was the one who was picking the top games, and then I think he made it in the top 10, and I was just flying. I was like, wow, Brian Dang picked my game.
It looks great. I'm looking at it over on my other screen, like a bit of gameplay.
And I actually used it. I didn't know how to play roulette pretty well, and I used that as an opportunity to play roulette too.
Why not?
Let's learn the rules. We'll keep this the more simplified version of roulette.
Yes. Yeah, roulette is a little it's a robust game. It's one of my favorites. Like between that and blackjack, I would say are my favorite.
Yeah, like, I'm sure like there are roulette pros out there who would look at the game and be like, yeah, this is nowhere close to the real game. We're not playing this. This is not our move.
I love this. So Power Apps was the first thing that you got involved in?
I should say a combination of Power Apps and Power Automate, because there's always some process automation that you can get away from. So there's always, and Power Automate is kind of like the orchestrator for a lot of things. So it's kind of like the glue that pulls everything together. So
I was describing this to somebody yesterday who was looking to get out of the military and wanted to get into tech. I know her mother-in-law, and as we were talking yesterday, and she was asking how do I what should I start with? I was like, why don't you just watch some videos on what each part of the platform does? And I was like, I will say I started in Automate because it kind of you can build Power Apps for data gathering, but you still need something to power what's next. And yes, that's why I really like it too. It's great. Power Platform is wonderful. Okay, so you are an apps aficionado. And so what do you do your day-to-day? What does your job look like during consulting? Actually, let's start with, what does your morning routine look like before you start your day?
Routine. There's a lot of things to do in the morning. Well, I have 2 kids, so I get them ready for school. The morning is like a rush. You come into the household, you hear things flying, missing. My backpack's missing. My 5-year-old is like, oh, I had this cute little thing hanging on my backpack and it's not there anymore. Mommy, find it for me. We have their world 101 problems that we've got to fix. 5 minutes before they have to get off.
It's always the way.
And it's critical. For them, that is the biggest thing in the world right now. Is the issue.
So
they can't go on without that. I feel you. I have children. I mean, my children are much. How old are your children? 5
they're 10 and 5.
10 and 5. Cool. But I feel you getting them ready in the mornings can be very, very challenging, for sure. So,
how old are your kids, Pete? I know 15 and 6.
No, 15 and 12.
Why did think your youngest was much young. Okay. Sorry.
It might well be because Oliver, although he's 12, my youngest has got very severe autism, Geetha, and he's not like a typical 12-year-old, so he seems much younger than he is, and he has very babyish features still. So could be that.
Yeah, I was imagining he was like a wee lad.
He is such a wee lad. He's super cute. I know I'm biased and all that, but I think he's super cute.
Of course, your kids are the cutest.
Yeah, but everyone's children are, though.
I agree. I agree. Other people's kids are very cute. My best friend just had.
We were like close by, would like call you for babysitting, and then you realize my 5 is like going on 15.
Hey, no,
I
like,
would say she's going on 15.
hey, you need a babysitter? I am there. I have a girlfriend who has 4 kids, and I love babysitting for that family. Like the youngest is, I think, 8 months now, and the oldest is 9. And we just have such a blast, like when she and her husband need date night. So you need babysitting, let me know. I'm happy to come out.
I would sign up for that if you were like just a couple of miles away from me.
Okay, like, when I come to visit,
miles away from me.
I'll make it a trip, like an extended trip to come visit you, and then you and your partner can go have date night. And
that would be awesome.
This is working out well.
It is.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pencil it in. You let me know when. Okay, so you
always say that my kids are a gem. I'm like, wow, really? They didn't bother you at all?
They put on their best behavior when.
It's almost like they have a different phase when they are with someone else, and then when they're home, it's like their reality shows up.
There you go. You get the real deal.
The real deal. So after the school run,
yes.
you go back to work from home, or are you into an office, or is it a mixture of both these days?
Yeah, we've been. So during the pandemic, we were pretty much remote, but then the last couple of months, we've been trying out the hybrid approach of doing 2 days in person at work and, being remote through it. And it's working out pretty well. I think I was definitely missing the physicality of things, like being in person, seeing people, talking to them. So it was, it's a really good change now, being able to have those 2 days to go back into work and have a quiet space and also have the ability to walk down. I think the thing I'm really missed is like, you could just walk down to your colleague and just ask a question, just tap their shoulder, have a little conversation, or even those hallway conversations. But with everything remote, I think that's one thing that was not happening, right? I mean, you have to it's mostly like you have to be on a call or you have to like set up a meeting. It's nothing as simple as just have a simple question. I'm just going to walk down and just ask. So I think that, I think it's working out pretty well. I'm enjoying the hybrid. I'm definitely not missing the commute, not having to commute to work every day. It gives you much more flexibility to do things as you're home. But it's been going well.
Good. Okay, so describe like what you do on a day-to-day basis in your job. What does it look like to be a consultant for artists?
So I do focus on custom app dev and the Power Platform side of things. So, it really depends on the client and the projects that we're working on. So it's usually in the Azure cloud integration space, or we'll have clients that have requirements around building solutions involving all of the low-code tools. So the day-to-day is more, depending on where we are in a specific project for a specific client, making sure that we meet their requirements, and whether it's support or delivery or designing, pretty much wearing. I think that's the good thing I like about the company I work. You get to wear different hats, so you get to try different roles, and it gives you the flexibility to learn things on the job as well. So it keeps you up on your feet, and I think that's that's what you need to be challenged every day, so that way you are always upskilling.
I agree. Do you work on multiple projects at a time, or are you assigned to like one project at a time? I've heard so many different things across consulting. Like some businesses are like, you're going to stay with this one client from start to finish. Others are, here are bits of piecemeal of like, we'll put you on this project. Maybe this one's like your main focus. How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's usually like a combination. Sometimes it's one client, or sometimes it's more than one, depending on what it could be. A combination of like you're doing the implementation for a specific client, or you're going through like the discovery phase, getting up with how are we going to design this for them, and then you have other one or two clients who we've done the execution for, but you're now more in the support phase, right? So you'd always have some clients that are like ongoing support, right? It's like you've done the job, you've handed it over, but then now they're testing it, or maybe they have additional enhancements, and you're just going through that phase, and then you have new projects come in, and then now you're getting into the whole discovery phase of like, how are we going to, what's the next step, and how are we going to implement this for them? So, yeah, it's usually between 1 to 3 projects, depending on what phase they're in.
Sure.
But usually companies do a pretty good job of, at least the one that I'm working, they do a pretty good job making sure that you're not overloaded, right?
Yes.
It's only so much you have in a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's 40 hours in a week that you have, and how do you split it across those projects? And so it works out well. The staffing works out well.
Yeah, one thing I've enjoyed about consulting is having like your time protected. At least at my company too, right? There's always two layers of people in between me and the client. So our product manager and the delivery manager. And that's not something that I've been used to myself. It's here's all this work. It's the onus is on you to figure out how much time you need, but then it's never like a realistic like timeline, when people are just like, here's all the things that you need to accomplish within a week or 2 weeks. And like, that's going to take way longer than a week or 2 weeks. But for them, they don't quite understand what's involved in creating these solutions. So now it's very nice where I can talk to my PM and say, this is way too much for 40 hours. And so they're like, okay, we'll just shift it to the the next sprint or something else. And I was like, ooh, this balance is really nice.
It helps. I think it's coming from I used to work for an industry-based client. Like you're there, that's the only client you're working for. I was a contractor with them, so that's the only project you do, right? So you're there starting from when you start until they go into support. And then I jumped into the consulting world, and I was like, oh, this is different domains, different industries, and then you have like different phases of the project that you're part of, and it's a change, but then you start enjoying it because you get exposure to more.
Yes,
you learn more on the job. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite part of the phase? So from discovery to implementation, do you have anything that you particularly love to do in between?
I can't really pick one because I love the discovery phase because it helps you innovate or help the organization innovate with the tool sets they have, or maybe bring in new tools for them, because I think they trust you as a strategic partner to come in and do things. So it makes it easy on you to provide the right guidelines to them, saying, hey, this is a better tool to be a better fit. So I love that phase of like going through the discovery of like finding out what the need is versus what their want is, and then figuring out what their current landscape is and where they are in their tech journey, right? Like, what does their tech readiness look like?
Yes.
I love that part because it helps you come up with these creative ideas, making it more cost effective for them. And also meeting them wherever they are in their journeys, so that way they can evolve and scale as they grow. And then of course the implementation too, right? Once you're done with designing, here's how we're going to, these are the different tool sets, we're connecting the dots for them. But then the end product, because I love seeing the faces of clients and then hearing their feedback when you provide the finished product, and then or as you even like do incremental walkthroughs with them, and then they're giving you feedback, and it just makes you so happy. It's like, because you can hear like how you are making their day-to-day jobs easier with what you're doing, and it just it makes you want to do more. It motivates you to be like, hey, how else can I help you? Like, what are other things that are bothering you? What are other pain points? Can we fix this? Can we do this? Can I come up with another solution for you? It's just meeting those business demands and then being able to get that feedback in the end is, I think it was all worth it, right? Everything that you do, it's worth it. It makes you want to wake up every day, go back to work, and do much better things.
I agree. Yeah, if you could see, if people could see the smiles that are on this screen right now, it's just like, yes. I love seeing the client's face like light up, and they're like, you can help us do what? And then when that dream comes true, right? It's we don't have to do this anymore by hand, or we can integrate these things. This is I love that about Power Platform so much. It's like, we're not, I mean, there are some limitations, right? And that's where that Fusion dev comes in if you need it. But it's that, you don't have to manually populate this thing in Excel anymore. It's a very, rudimentary thing. We can make your life easier. That data that's housed in that on-prem database that you always have to log in through a
Right.
VPN, like we can just display it in Power BI. And I love
Yeah.
how easy we make it.
This is so awesome. I think I'm right in saying, Azure, that Geetha is only our second ever Power Platform guest on the show,
Yes.
because you were actually our first, weren't you, before you were one of the team?
It was
Yeah.
me and Pragati. She
Pragati,
was,
of course.
yes,
Of course,
our
Pragati,
Power
that's
BI.
right.
Yeah, with Kat. We did
Yeah,
that.
of course. So
2 months
three,
ago,
this is the third
So
time.
third,
I'm so happy we're getting more people on the show from Power Platform, because it's so relevant and massive. And
Mhm.
I love, I'm just sitting and listening to this because I know very little about it. So listening and learning and taking it all in. And I guess that leads to a very logical question for you, Geetha, and one for you really, Azure, is if somebody is thinking, this sounds cool, this sounds like a great career move for me, something I could really sink my teeth into, what would be the first step that you would give somebody who wants to get into the Power Platform?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be 1A, 1B, 1C.
A journey.
Yeah, I think number one is get more involved in the community, because as you're
Mm.
starting on the journey, you're going to need more help from people who are just like you or have been there, done that. We've all been there, done that, and that's what helped me to having the space to go ask questions, getting involved in the forums, signing up in the community forums, ask questions, maybe help out others too if you have an answer, because there's always going to be another person who's going to come in with the same problems that they're facing in their journey. And then also the Microsoft Learn Paths. The Power Platform team has done an amazing job. They've revised and refactored just how those learning paths look like, and now they have them categorized by where you are based on your skill set. So you could start with the beginner skill set. Intermediate means like you've already dabbled with these tools, but you're trying to go to the next step. Or you're like, hey, I know how to use this. Now I'm ready to go pro, advanced. There's an advanced learning path too. So no matter which tool you pick, or whatever section of the platform ecosystem that you want to get started with, there is a learning path out there, and you could go through those guided labs and instructions and learn. So all these three together, I think is going to get you to where you are, and then eventually, I think everybody becomes a power addict. Get addicted to the platform. There is no turning back. That's how it's been for me, and I'm sure for Azure and everybody. You get started, and then you just get obsessed with the beauty of this platform, and you just continue to do things.
And from those learning paths is the next logical step then to go on to certification, because they're much like across all M365 and Azure. There are exams that you can take, aren't there? The PL 900, I think, is the first one, the entry level one.
So yes, there's PL 900, and then there's the MB, there's the 200, 400, and 600. But yes, I think that's so once you've had some practical exposure to doing things, and you could, if you don't have a use case you could find a use case at work. You can sign up for a developer tenant, which is free. It's a community plan. And the best part of it is you don't need any licensing to tap into any premium data sources. It's your own tenant. It's considered a sandbox tenant. It's not for production use. But you have access to a lot of those data sources and features that you wouldn't need any licensing. It's just for you to play around with and learn. So sign up for that, and then start going through these learning paths, and then learn the, like you said, Peter, the certifications are a really good way. Give a shot to the PL 900, see where you are, which areas do you need more improvements on, or do you need to learn more about, and then go to the next one and keep moving on, and then that would be so it's actually 1A, B, C, D now.
There you go. We've added another one into the mix. You've sold this to me. I really want to go and do this now. I'm such a lifelong learner. Yes, that sounds
Anybody
awesome.
can do it.
I'm signing up for PL 900 right now.
Yes, right now.
If we have done it, Peter, you can definitely do it.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like I've mentioned this, I think when I first came on the show last year, was I don't have a background in computer tech at all. I mean, I like built my own like websites through Yahoo GeoCities when it still existed, you know, RIP,
GeoCities.
Yahoo GeoCities, right? I learned that there's a website called ClarissaExplains-It-All.com, and it's teaching kids HTML. It's like this, it still has the old like 90s interface to it, it still exists. But apart from that, it wasn't until I was working in, you know, manufacturing that I got exposed to Power Platform. And like my first use case was, you know, copying and replacing a file in a SharePoint, you know, library that could be displayed in Teams for a meeting. Like every Monday, the safety team would want groups to review at their muster the safety topic for the week. And that file was 99% of the times like edited by Monday, but sometimes they would forget to email it out. Sometimes they'd send it to managers. And so it was always the scramble at 9:30 a.m. If we didn't have the file, if it wasn't emailed out, whoever was leading the muster would have to be like, did anybody receive it? Did the managers get it? No, if the managers didn't get it, then, you know, blah, 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 blah. But since everybody had access to the SharePoint site anyway, I just said, okay, take whatever file is there at 9 a.m. every Monday morning, drop it in Teams for us. And that was it. And then we never had to worry about it again. And it was something just so basic that made a bit of a difference. And then of course it scaled from there to be like, well, what else can I do with the platform? And it's, you know, personal productivity, right? It could be something for myself. It could be something for a team. And like anywhere you want to go, you can do it. And now for like home use, I'm doing RPA for home use to just play around with, you know, robotic process automation. So Power Automate Desktop. But yeah, figure out like what you're interested in. If you want to learn how to build apps, there's apps, there is automation. So Power Automate, Power BI is data viz. And then Power Virtual Agents is like chatbots. So usually it'll like, if you do virtual agents, that is powered by Automate. So those two you could learn together. And anything else you can kind of learn on its own, but they all kind of go together. Like, you know, your app is your data gathering, and then you have automation power, something else behind it, and then you can display the data in a Power BI dashboard. So you can take each of them as a pillar, but they all connect together. And just for like systems that might be on-prem, you can do that. Like if you're using an Oracle database that's on-prem or SAP or anything like that, you can still pull that data and use it elsewhere. You can send automatic emails, adaptive cards. So possibilities are endless.
It's just the surface layer too that we're looking at, right? I mean, there's all these in the surface, but then if you go under the wraps, now you can like drop AI into the mix.
Yep.
You can integrate with Microsoft Teams. Have any Azure services that you have. You know, you can integrate with that. It's a variety of like over 700 different data sources that you can go connect to, as long as it's supported. So it's pretty much anything. And I think the best part is the product team has identified like these most commonly used templates, right? Like she's like, an email comes in, I want to pick that up and drop it. That's like the most common scenario people have, right? They have emails coming in. Someone manually goes in, downloads the attachment, and then drops it into a shared folder or OneDrive or SharePoint. I think those are like, you have those already templatized for you. So if you're new, you don't know how to start from scratch, search for a template. You might find one that's either pretty much exactly the same that you want or pretty close to what you want. And it's a good way to start with that and then start extending it. Yeah, so I think it's so many ways to do it. And I agree with Azure. I think the best that has worked for me as part of my learning problem or learning process is that you pick a known problem and then go with it, because that makes it easier. You know, this is the business problem or personal productivity issue that you're wanting to fix, and you know how to solve it too. It's just that now you just have to translate that solution into a tool that you're learning. Yeah, so I think that's always worked really well to learn and upskill with all these tools.
Yeah, I agree. Like pick something smaller, right? Like there might be a grandiose like business problem you want to solve. Just automate a portion of it. Like maybe it's just the first step of it and learn that. And then you can keep extending, you know, it might end up being multiple flows for that, but start small so you don't get overwhelmed. I feel like with Automate, it can be, I would say maybe the most complicated one, just because there are so many use cases. And there are going to be areas where you might have to code like do a little bit of coding too. So be patient with yourself. Pick something small. And like Geetha said, use templates, and you can remove steps from templates. You can add steps to templates. Like if, maybe the thing is send an email when something in SharePoint happens, but maybe you want to send a text message instead. You can just use that same template, remove the email step, and insert, the send a text message step instead. And there you go. You didn't have to build anything from complete scratch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say like automate bits and pieces at a time instead of thinking, like here's the whole problem, I'm going to try and solve it at once. Because I think some people get a little overwhelmed with the idea of trying to tackle like a really, really big business problem. So just like baby steps, baby steps. Yeah. I found it. Sorry, there was a bug, like my screen just there. There's a bug right there. I was going to say in terms of certification. So Geetha mentioned getting a developer account. And Microsoft, so the cert for the PL900, Microsoft at least every season does like a cloud skills challenge. And then typically when there are conferences, there are opportunities to get these certifications paid for. So they'll offer free certs, and it might be go through the Learn documentation and then take one of our virtual training day classes. And then after that, they'll give you a code for a free cert. And the certs are somewhere between normally like $100, $150. But I've seen it come up very often. When it does, I try to promote that too, because it's a very easy way. I feel like Microsoft makes it like a very low barrier of entry. Like you get a developer account, which is free through school or work. And then you have the opportunity to take these certs, and they like, if you can't afford it right now, which I understand, like, especially as maybe you're a student, $100 is a lot of money. Make it very easy for you to be like, okay, just do this challenge, like go through the documentation. Sometimes it's take a class, sometimes it's not. And they'll be like, okay, here is a free certification code. And I think that is really wonderful, because then it makes that access a little bit easier for people to get involved and have fun while they're doing it too.
Yeah, definitely a great way to like evaluate where you are, right? What you've learned, and do you know enough? Do you need are there other additional areas you want to learn more? It's definitely a good way to get started.
Yeah.
Definitely something that everyone should make use of as they pop up.
I agree. Okay, so you mentioned one of the things of getting started is getting into the community, and you are part of the Power Addicts user group, the Dallas Fort Worth user group, the Textiles. Tell us a little bit about those groups that you're involved in.
Yeah, sure. I think the Power Addicts kind of came around the time, the gaming competition that I talked about. That was kind of my foray into the community. I was trying to figure out how to do certain things, and then I was watching some live YouTube video of some of the community experts out there, and then I was like, oh, there's this whole community out there about this. And I started becoming active on Twitter, and I think it was like a bunch of us, like around like 6 or 7 people who kind of have the same thought process. It's like, wouldn't it be nice, like, if we had a platform where people like us were either learning or have some brilliant things that they've built and would want to come and showcase? Wouldn't it be nice to have a platform where we could collaborate with other Power Addicts, not just in your area geographically, but around the world, right? Let's meet other Power Addicts. That's how it started, because we knew that there is this whole community that's getting excited about this platform, but I think we need to have a space where we can all work together, learn from each other, and share. And so that's how the Power Addicts came into play. And, we've kind of been doing these monthly meetups where we invite guests to or give them a platform where they can come and share brilliant stuff that they've been building. And also an opportunity for other Power Addicts to collaborate and make new friends in the community. Like right now, I would not have thought, if you had asked me like 5 years back, I would not have thought that I would have a friend and almost a community friend that I would network with in almost every continent of the world.
I agree.
That would have never happened. Because now if I were to make a trip to Europe, I would be like, oh, I know someone here. I know someone here. I know someone here. No, it's like, a lot of people around. At least, I'm hoping that I can like fill up my map with those spots. Like, oh, I have a friend here, and here, I'm hoping
Awesome.
I can do that soon and do like a world tour now, like go visit everybody. Or maybe use in-person events as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm very excited.
Yeah. So I think that's how the Power Addicts thing started. And we're very happy to see so many having the same passion for the platform and same passion for sharing and learning from each other. I think that's what makes this community. That's the whole backbone of this community. That's how it's working. And with the user group, when I started off, I was, there was the SharePoint user group, and there were groups that were focused on other parts of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And also, I think there was a Power BI user group too at the time, and I was trying to figure out, like, I wanted to find out, like, what are other people, our peers, doing in the same domain space in my area. Maybe I can go sit in a user group meeting, but there wasn't one. And so I have a colleague at work, and my friend who's also a mentor at work for me. We were talking about it. I was like, well, maybe we should start our own because we don't have one. So why don't we start our own and see if we can recruit more people to join and use this as an opportunity to build a community locally. So we all have a space, where you are geographically closer to each other and you can meet in person. So pre-pandemic, we were able to meet in person and have really productive user group sessions, and it was interesting to see the different business problems that people are working on, right? And then see whiteboard with them and spend time and see how we can all as a group help a peer out. And then we've kind of like with the pandemic, we focused on more virtual events, and I'm looking forward to being in person again. Now things are brightening up and getting back and resuming, and so hoping to do that. And with the textilers, I think it's all Foy, and this is her brainchild. She has been amazing with this incredible work that she's doing, which empowers people around the world to learn and upskill with the platform. And she helps connect them with the right mentors, so that way they have the chance to learn, and everybody has the right to education, be it tech or any form, especially with people wanting to be in tech. And so I think that's how it started, and it's a great experience. It is amazing to see how interested people are in the parts of the world where they may not have access to as much of resources, but when you have the knowledge, why not share it with them? Help. That's the least that we can do. Just get on a call with them, spend a half a Saturday, or be it 4 hours or 6 hours. It doesn't matter, but that's the least you can do to help them out. I mean, I think I've seen some community members in some parts of the world. They don't even have proper light to learn, which it breaks my heart because you've heard about scenarios. I think I've been fortunate enough to come from a background where you can afford to have light and internet connectivity, good data networks, and you don't experience that as firsthand. But when you hear that, it's like, oh wow, it's not easy when someone has that passion to learn so much. Then there are other external factors like these, like not proper internet connectivity and things that block you from getting educated. It's just not fair, right? And I think those are some scenarios. I think Foy does an amazing job where she started this whole revolution of helping those people out, where she can connect them with mentors who are either SMEs or have the experience working with those tools, and you can work with those mentees and help them upskill. And it's going to, end of the day, it's going to help them get a job in tech, which is like fulfilling a dream for them, right? And it's amazing to be part of it.
Yeah, I think we were part of the inaugural thing, because that's how I met you, Geetha, was through when I did my first demo. So Textilers has existed for about 2 years now. And I remember when I was working at my last job and I had gotten involved, I wasn't doing any user groups. And that was my first demo when I showed up at Textilers. And my friend Simon, who I used to work with, who like owned Power Platform at my last company, he was like, hey, are you a part of any user groups? I have a friend of mine, Foyen Olajide-Bello. If anybody is looking to get involved, like Foyen is just this wonderful human being. But we've been talking about the Textilers. We meet once a month. And Simon was like, I want you to talk to Foyen. And I talked to Foyen. She's like, yeah, we're looking for somebody to do a demo on something. Like, what? Just bring us what you're working on. And the amount of support that I got from getting involved in the community by just doing this demo really opened a ton of doors for me. People who work, at tech companies, other people who are like myself, and we were working at companies that, need the tech, like need the Power Platform, folks who work at Microsoft, like extending your network, growing your network through these kinds of groups really does a ton for you and helps on your learning journey. And Geetha was actually the first one who told me you should apply for a conference. And it was in that session, like in the chat. And I was like, why on earth would someone, me, I've been working in this for 6 months, the use case that I had brought. And I was like, she crazy. There's no reason for me to do this. And then I applied there was a Donna Sarkar who works for Microsoft, who was looking for speakers for a conference, like a baby dev kind of conference. And I remember commenting on it, like, someday when I'm more prepared. And she's like, no, I want you. She's like, I'm going to have my minion reach out to you. And that's how it started. And I did 3 conferences, I think, in like an 8-week period. And with the pandemic, right, this was in 2020, September and October of 2020, it had broadened the access for me to get involved too. And just from there, it just kind of exploded. So Geetha, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like, there are so many people who just kind of usher you along in your journey, and you just have to find that community to do so.
I think it's just the little spark. Like, I had someone too when I started off, right? I think it was Melissa Hubbard. She was the person who said, hey, if you ever want to try talking. I mean, I was not someone who was used to like talking in public with people. So she was like, if you ever want, I can introduce you to a user group, and you can try that. It will be the best place for you to try. And so I think you just need a little spark, a little push, and then it's Azure, it's all you. I mean, if you're here today, what you are, how far you've come, it's all the hard work and all the passion that you have for sharing and all the good work that you're doing. I think it's just this little people, kind of like those ants carrying the little, and then just falling along the path, and then everybody is, trying to say, let's do this together, and then it just works out. It becomes like this, blows up to be pretty big.
Yeah. If you want to put in the work, like, I think that's really the one thing is that when people come in, like, if you're willing to do the work, we are here to support you, and guide you. Like, whether it's you need a question, because I have people who reach out to me on Twitter, DM or tag me in a tweet and be like, hey, I can't figure this out. I'm like, hey, let's hop on a call. Let's figure this out together. Or I have a couple of mentees that are even, overseas, and we'll catch up, and they'll be like, hey, I'm applying for this job. What interview questions should I be looking at? It kind of like the reach. Once you get involved, not only you get to a place where you're like, I feel comfortable in this, then it's time to reach out to somebody else and make sure like you're helping them, and it comes like full circle to you. Like, all these opportunities just really present themselves. It's Power Platform community, I would have to say, is the friendliest place. And I know like tech can be a little hostile towards like women. Tech is largely like white and male too, especially in the US. And I can't say that like in Power Platform community, I feel like it's a very different feel. Like, everybody is really there to support each other. And it's really refreshing, I would say, to just there's no like adversity like to get in. It's if you want to be here, like you totally belong here. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome.
You've mentioned like hopefully we're getting back to in-person things. Yeah. Speaking of in-person, there's a conference coming up in the fall that's in person. Why don't you tell us what you're doing there?
Oh yeah, so I think I got a couple. So I'm really excited. I'm so looking forward to get to in person to be able to meet, because I think I'm pretty, like, even you, Azure, like we've been like just seeing virtually through cameras, never really like seen in person. There's so many people like that. You just get to know them and you've just not met them. And so I'm just looking forward to like to have my first in-person conference where I can go sit in a room full of people and share and learn and converse and have a dialogue, network, and do all of that. So the first one is going to be in Dallas, though. There's one. It used to be called SharePoint Tech Fest, but now they call it the M365 EDU Connect. So that's happening in August, and April is going to be there, and then a bunch of the community members are going to be there too. And so that's going to be my very first one where we'll have a workshop and a session, and I'm pretty excited for it. And I don't know how I'm going to feel. Because
Wait, this is your first
Yes, that's going to be my
conference too, Geetha?
Yeah, my first one. And I've just been like thinking to myself, like, I need to get to like Zen mode. Like, you know how excited I am. It's like a bee, like, I'm so excited. And I don't know how I'm going to feel because I'm just so used to talking to my PC. Not a room full of people, basically, for the past few years. And then I'm like, now I'm going to go into a room full of people. And then I think I'm going to get those jitters and sweaty hands and everything. So we'll see how that goes. But pretty excited.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You got to worry if you don't get that.
Yeah. It's excitement, anticipation. Yeah.
And then I think we have the Dynamics Con Live happening where I will get to see Azure
finally. We get to be in person. I'm so thrilled.
Excited. Yes, I'll finally get to see her. So that'll be awesome. That's happening in September. And then I think September, this summer and fall is like conference season, right? They're like
it is happening. It absolutely
is. And then
is.
we have the big, huge Power Platform conference happening in September in Orlando. So we've applied, and we'll see. Fingers crossed. We'll see what's happening. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll get the opportunity to be there, and that's going to be a pretty huge one because I think that's going to be focused on the platform, and we haven't had that in a long time. And this is going to be a good way, and it's going to be a good mix of not just the community coming in there and our people, vendors and partners and clients and customers, but it's also going to be Microsoft product teams and engineering teams there as well. So you get to have some face time with them and talk to them, provide feedback, learn about what's coming in features and things like that. So I think these starting August and September, I think are going to be like months where everybody's going to be glowing.
Yes.
So, like getting to meet people and quite excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
But yes, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we all, things stay as they are and we don't have to worry about another pandemic coming our way.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'm not going to lie. I feel like slightly nervous about that because things just changed so quickly, right? They got really excited for in person and now there's monkeypox and like, oh no, like what's.
But I think the best part is we're all prepared. We know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the best part. Well, and it's funny like how the new terminology came into like that unprecedented times. I've never heard of that term before. And then
so many different.
We're part of it now. And then we've all been. I like to call it to say we've all been part of history. We'll be in the books.
Yeah, it will. It's gonna be great. We haven't had a Power Platform conference since 2020. Because I know it was handled by a different group, and that one didn't come back in 2021. So it's a brand new conference. Charles Lamanna has backed it, and he was advertising it on Twitter. I think end of April-ish. So for those that are interested, if we get a chance to go, registration's still open. Geetha and I have submitted joint sessions together. So we try to apply for as many things as possible so we could get in there, but we're hoping that we might be able to teach some workshops too, some beginner workshops, how to get into apps and how to get into Flow or Power Automate to help beginners. I think I love the beginner space just because here's how you can get started, right? It's very easy to get started. You just need a little bit of guidance, somebody to hold your hand and just be like, it's okay, pat them on the head.
You're paying it forward because you've been there, you've been in that position, so it's your opportunity to give back in the community and
I love it.
And start someone else off on that exciting journey. It's so cool.
I didn't think when I first started doing conferences that people. I remember when Geetha said, I was like, who on earth would want to see a beginner do a demo, right? I remember what conference was? I think it was Ignite in 2020 was online, and that was the first conference that I had ever watched and saw these really big, shiny use cases and was like, oh, I mean, that's really cool. So why would anybody want to see me doing something with SharePoint lists and Teams? I think
it's a human tendency, right? We tend to underestimate what we do. We think what I've done is, it's okay. Man.
Yeah, I was like, it's not big.
When you share with someone who's like, what? You did that?
Yeah.
That's how it is.
And that was the thing.
We're so humble. We never boast about things, but
right.
For someone else.
And I remember people reached out to me on Twitter and they were like, this is just what I needed to get started. And I was like, me? Really? Because when I typically do my demos, I do a walkthrough of Power I still call it flow. Power Automate like the website and where the templates are, and this and this and this, and just really do just like, I'm calling it dumb it down, but it's more like explain it like I'm 5. So you know what to do. And yeah, it was just, I was like, oh, that's very different. I would have expected people to be like, this is boring. Like, who wants to see this? But I remember myself as a beginner, because I would say Power Automated is a little bit less formulaic to learn, like Power BI or Power Apps, because like you learn in Power Apps, you build a screen, you're going to add your controls to this screen,
Right.
Power Automate just has so many use cases. It could be hard to know where to get started. And I remember myself, like, here's my use case, but there's just so much to learn. I remember my journey being a little chaotic, but I was ravenous for that knowledge. So I was like, if I can help usher in a little bit of a smoother transition for folks, then that would be nice. And I wasn't thinking that in the first place. It was just like, this is what I know, so I'm going to present it. But it's proved to be beneficial. So yeah, just like giving back, it really means a lot if you can just help like one person, to help them on their tech journey if they decide to go, into consulting or into whatever it is, right? It might just be at their company, their current company, that they find another position just to give them something else in their arsenal. It's a great feeling. So, okay, pivoting away from kind of Power Platform, what are you up to these days outside of Power Platform? Do you got any summer plans going on? What do you do to just like kick back and chill? I saw something about like some cucumber gazpacho on
that's been
the internet.
This summer, I've been like trying out recipes to cool myself down with the Texas heat. that's just scorching heat. I'm just prepping myself, trying out new things like cold soups and beverages and infused water and things like that to try. So I've been like experimenting, and I like to do things that are quick. Like I need to be able to be done with it in like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yes.
They need to be like quick recipes. so I've been like trying to find those new recipes and try them out and test them out, especially to cool down in the summer. That's what I've been doing like in my time off, like trying to. And then I have my minions at home who are my testers. We're like, test this out. How does it sound? And then they'll be like, no,
this one isn't.
Yeah.
What's been like the fan favorites that you've been making as far as like
the gazpacho?
The gazpacho? Okay.
And that's been really good. Yeah, they've and then I they love my chocolate mousse. I make a really
I love mousse.
Dark chocolate mousse with some, with some swirls of white chocolate in it.
Oh yes.
I have a sweet tooth. I love anything like that. Gorgeous.
Yep. So next time you guys are in Dallas, let me know. We'll make some.
Yes, please.
We'll do the 2-course meal. We'll think about what we want to do for the middle course.
Okay. I'll trade you a 2-course meal for babysitting.
Oh, perfect.
I'm cheap.
There you go.
Yeah,
I think you've got a deal.
The main course as well for you.
Yes. Yeah, I have to admit that I for a little bit here I've been outsourcing my meals. So I've been ordering like pre-prepared meals, just like a few per week, just to cut down on that mental labor of thinking what to eat, especially like living on my own. There's nobody to ask, hey, what do you want for dinner tonight? It's always just me.
That's a $1 million question. I'm like, what do we eat for lunch?
What do we? Yeah. And I saw this meme or something recent that was like, and being an adult means you can eat whatever you want. And what did I eat for lunch yesterday? I made myself a microwavable mug cake. Was it nutritious? Questionable. Was it good for my soul? Absolutely.
No. Those are like guilt-free meals. Just enjoy them.
Yeah, what I actually had for lunch wasn't as great. I had frozen something that wasn't like freezable really. It was like pad CU, and the noodles just kind of like broke apart and just the flavor was completely gone. I was like, well, looks like we're having cake for lunch. So I had cake.
Oh, I would still have cake for lunch. I love that idea.
You are an adult, Pete. You can have cake.
I can. Well, this is one of the problems I have. Before we started, I was telling you, Azure, that I need to get fitter. I just went out to play football with my oldest son before this, and it wore me out. I was out of breath. I didn't realize how unfit I'd got during COVID. So I need to work on eating a bit better and getting a bit more fit. But so the journey begins here.
Sign me up for that too. I put on a pair of pants to go out to dinner with a friend last night, and I was like, "Ooh, I could have used a stick of butter to get in these because they were a little snug."
Yeah, my first in-person event. Speaking about in-person, I did one recently with the company I work at, and none of my work clothes fit. I had to buy entirely new work clothes, which nice problem to have, but it was like, oh, this sucks. I've got to go up a size or two. It's a yeah.
Oh, well, actually, that's a funny thing you bring up because I was looking at like, what are my history of purchases? I have only purchased like PJs.
Yeah.
I think I was like, whatever. I haven't like purchased proper clothes.
It's been a
Because it's like you're
while.
just in the whole 2 years in pandemic, everybody's just been in like sweats and athletic wear and PJs. And I'm like,
yeah. And if you have to be smart, as you say, you can be smart just on top.
Just on
can't
top.
you? It's
Party.
Yeah.
What is it? Business on top,
Yeah.
party on the
Yeah.
bottom.
Exactly.
Only thing I was like, not a single dress.
I say actually, so since I've been working, I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't really lean into this. Let's just buy more comfy clothes during the pandemic. So for the first year, for sure, I was definitely still wearing work clothes. Like I'd get up and I'd put on real pants, and I've since given up. And then my thing is, if people start to see that my dress, like my outfit starts to get a little bit fancier at the time, it's because I haven't done laundry. So I'm still getting use out of when I used to have to go to office, it was business casual, and I was in a project management kind of role. So we dressed up a little bit, more anyway. But yeah, when people, even if it's on non-client facing days at this point, if you see me in a dress, you know absolutely why, or be like, you look fancy. Yeah, it's just laundry day, or it should be at some point in the future.
It's just there's limited options on that day. There's not much to choose from. So.
No, yeah, it gets that point more often than I would like to admit. Just like I had written a tweet when I went to my parents a couple days back. I was staying with them, and it's like a 4 or 5 hour drive down south, and I had only packed like 2 pairs of underpants for a 4-day trip, and I was like, well, it is what it is. At least they've got laundry detergent. Or a friend of mine, she was like, just turn them inside out. I mean, she was absolutely joking, but she's like, just to get double use out of them.
Reusability is key. It's like, let's go.
It is multifunctional, multi-purpose. I was like, good idea. That's something
exactly.
probably my sister.
And if you're traveling like that, there's usually somewhere you can nip into and get some stuff that you need, isn't there? Because I always forget something. I always forget like a toothpaste or something like that. But
yep.
I had to make a list when I packed for this in-person thing I went to recently, because it was just habit. I used to go away 2 or 3 times a week, but this was like, oh, I'm not sure what I need for this, so I made a list, and it was like longer than I thought it would be. But wow, there's so much you need to take.
Yeah. Now that I'm traveling a little bit more for work too, it's keeping that list like within arm's reach at all times, so I don't forget something. But I've definitely had to go for shampoo or whatever. Like, thank goodness for convenience. Although I went last month before, I went to a place that was about an hour outside of Boston, and there was nothing. Like, absolutely everything closed at like 8 p.m. too. So it was just a town, and we stayed at an inn that was in the town. But if you needed anything else, there was nothing. There was a CVS that opened like in the morning, a pharmacy, but other than that, there was no stores, nada. So I've learned my lesson.
Well, good thing is you're going to your parents' house, so
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, mom and dad have things. They live down the street from a store, so it wasn't terrible. I was just like, don't. Look, this is what happens when you don't put a list together, or you put all your clothes in a reusable shopping bag like 2 hours before. I did not adult very well this week, but you know what?
Yeah,
it's
I think
okay.
We've normalized.
But you coped. You made it work.
I did. It was fine.
All any of us can ask, isn't it? If you can make it work and get through, then you're doing all right.
Yeah, that is so true.
I wanted to ask you actually, Geetha, what is life like in Dallas, Texas? I know it sounds like it's very hot a lot of the time. The only thing I really know about Dallas, Texas is I'm showing my age here. I grew up watching J.R. Ewing on the TV show Dallas. That's as much as I know about Dallas, really.
Yeah,
So,
so I think it's not. I mean, it's a big city. We have a lot of big companies headquarters here, like Toyota is here, FedEx is here,
cool.
JCPenney has a headquarters here. So up you'll see a lot of big companies. Texas Instruments is here. You'll see a lot of that, and then it is hot. I mean, it's Texas, so the June to August are like the peak. I should say July, August are like the peak summer months. It's definitely not as hot as like Arizona or Phoenix. Here, I mean, it can go up to like 105 or 109, I think is what I've seen max here, degrees. But and then the good part is you don't get snowed down like that bad. I mean, of course, we had like the freeze last year, which is very rare to happen. So you don't have to like shovel snow off of your front yard. You don't get those scenarios.
Yeah.
You're snowed in. I mean, kids are usually like praying for a white Christmas. They're like, please, no. And then that's how it is. I mean, it's quite weather-wise. I mean, there are a lot of lakes, very huge lakes, and so summer is the time people take their boats out, do their water activities, and do things like that. So it's a lot of hiking and lakes, and you could go up to neighboring cities too, like there's Austin, Houston. Those are places that you can drive. They're like 4 hours, 3 hours away. And then I think the closest beach is like about 6 hours away for us. So it would be at Galveston and Houston. So that I think those are like it's not a very it's a calm city. Not too. If you go into, there are certain areas in the city where you go would be like a lot of bustle, and there's big universities here, so there's a lot of kids, and that makes it much more happening, and things like that. So yeah, I would love for you guys to visit here, love to be the host and take you guys around.
I want to eat tacos and barbecue.
Yes.
Very
Food.
good things about food.
I missed mentioning that. There is this Addison is a city here. It's kind of like the food hub. So you get a lot of really good Tex-Mex food. It's pretty good. And then Nima cuisine, you'll find it here. It's kind of like the hub of all sorts of diverse cuisines and styles that you would want to try out. It's all here. So I think that's for leisure. That's what people do. Hang out in the patio, eat good food, listen to there's a lot of live music going on. And then it's good weather up until pretty much throughout the year, until like November, December, unless you're someone who doesn't enjoy layering up and going out. You can just hang out for most part of the year, starting from Feb until October, November. You can just hang out, listen to live music, have some open patio bars, have some good time, listen by the lake, or do some water activities and things like that, and get to do some hikes and go up the mountains. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
For listeners who didn't know what 105 degrees Fahrenheit is, it is 40.55 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
My
So
God.
just to put it in perspective.
So that's during the 2 months. Yes, the July and August. It's coming our way. July and August gets really tense. Gets very hot, but that's I mean, if you've been to Phoenix or Arizona, you wouldn't complain about Dallas. They go up until 115.
Yeah,
I've been there once, and it was like 115. I was like, gosh, I would never complain about Dallas again.
Is it dry heat or wet heat? Is it humid there, Geetha?
It's not humid. It's like scorching heat. It's just very scorchy. It's not very humid.
So
I know some people prefer it to be more humid, so you can just like sweat it out. I don't.
Yeah, here it might it can get that hot, but it's like a wet heat. Like you just your shirts always damp. A smog from a city bus feels like a refreshing breeze.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
I've been to the States a few times in my life, not for a long time, but one place that had that sort of humidity that you described was New Orleans, which
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful
Right.
city.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
enjoyed my few days there. Long time ago now,
Yeah.
but I've been there. I've been to Chicago. I've been to Cincinnati, Ohio, a few of them, and a few other places, but not for a long time. But New Orleans was definitely the most hot and humid. I was very sticky after the few days there.
Oh, the bayous down there. Yeah,
Oh.
it's that I don't know what it's. There's mountainous regions here. I think like trap everything, and there's water as well. So
Yeah.
Peter, now you've got to come back this way.
Yeah.
Come to like Maryland,
Oh.
DC area.
And of
I'm
course,
gonna have to at some point for sure.
Yeah.
I need to get a passport first before I can do
Okay.
that because
Oh yeah,
my passport expired in 2018, and I've just not had the need to renew it. What with times being what they've been in the last few
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Not sure if you follow the US sports, but Dallas is the hometown of the Mavericks and
Mavericks.
Cowboys.
What sport is that?
Dallas Cowboys and football and
Cowboys is football, right? And
yeah,
Mavericks
and then
is
basketball.
basketball. Cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love it. It's great when we talk to people all around the world on this show, the different sports that we have around the world in different countries. What's big in one country is just not in another. And I mean, out in the UK, what you would call soccer in the States is our main sport, and we call it football. And
Football, yeah.
and it's just crazy big over here. Some folks like cricket, which I don't quite get, but hey ho, each to their own. Strange game. I don't know who invented that, and we think, how long should we play this game for? 5 days. That sounds
yeah.
amazing.
It's like a series. It's a
Yeah.
whole long game. But there's
Yeah.
big
But
fans. Yeah, I come. I'm from India, so I moved into the US for my education, and I've just been here for several years now. But yeah,
cricket's massive in India, isn't it?
it's massive. Yeah, I think it kind of is ingrained into our childhood. We all grow up like playing on the streets, and it's like anywhere you turn, it's that's the first sport that everybody gets into. So it's a pretty long sport. I mean, I agree with that. It's a long sport. Like you have to like sit in. It's like you have to dedicate time to it.
You do. But I love how passionate all sports fans get about their game. It's just so cool to see people so invested in something, whether you like it or not. Football is my game that I enjoy the most. But I love watching other sports as well, but not that there's much time to do that sort of thing because, as we always say on this show, pretty much everyone who comes on as a guest tends to live this as much as anything, because in this community we do this for a living, but it's also kind of our main hobby as well, and we spend so much time doing it for pleasure in our own time. So yeah, how do you find that? Do you find that you can switch off quite easy from that sort of work and community life as well, Geetha, or is that something you struggle with?
I think I've definitely struggled with that because it's always in the back of your head, right? Unless I like completely go device off, like I'm shut down, like I'm not touching my device, I'm not seeing it, but then there's always that little thing that peeks into your mind of like, I want to see what's happening, I want to see what's everybody doing. I think that's always, I mean, honestly I think it's definitely, I mean, even though that's the only way that I've figured out to shut down is like just completely shut down. I'm not gonna turn off my alerts, notifications, I'm not seeing anything. That's the only way I can be like, okay, I'm not seeing anything, but then kind of just intentionally blocking those sections of your brain to say, all right, it's all right if you don't, it's okay to take a break. You don't have to, thinking about it. And then let's focus on some other things. Let's get some me time, spend some time with the family, or do some other things that you would want to do. But I think that's the only way I figured out. And I'm interested to see how other people do. Like, have you guys found any ways that have worked for you guys to shut down completely?
I think we maybe talked about this a little bit with like Nate last week too, is for me now that I'm in consulting, prior to it was Power Platform became part of my job. Like I started a role and then it was just work. And then now, like, my hobby really is my job now, and trying to separate the two of those. So I can absolutely relate. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take, I think I started my job in February, March, one of the two. So I'm going to take the month just to not do any extracurriculars that are related to Power Platform. And it is so hard. It is so hard.
It is.
And when I had asked people, I was like, the only thing that I really wanted to do was this podcast for my after school activities. But anything that was external to it, I asked people, I was like, would you mind waiting a month if you want me to guest, if you want me to demo, just so I could kind of reclaim some brain space. And it's still like, oh, it's there. I see opportunities everywhere to want to play in Power Platform.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to completely like shut my computer off and not take it with me and close the door. I'm fortunate to at least have like my guest room as my office. And at the end of the day, I shut off the light and I close the door because I know if I sit back down at that computer, even if I say 15 more minutes, I'll look at the clock and it'll be midnight and I'm still working on a flow just for funsies. And I'll be like, oh, nope, I can't do that. So it can be hard to disconnect sometimes just because it's like we love what we do.
Yeah, I think it's just how technology is today, right? I mean, even not just our generation, like even with the kids, we see that like getting away from screen time or any device is just, we're so close to it. Like back in the day, like I don't think Twitter wasn't there like 7 years back. When I was in school, there was no, like, phones were like those big brick phones. These tiny screens. There's no way you could do anything. I mean, you got this little games like this Nintendo, those little like this pager kind of things, and then you play Tetris on it.
Yes, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I was used to. And then the phones were like you have to like literally like have those big antennas, and you had to like or the dial-in ones. There's not much entertainment in that, and so we did more outdoorsy stuff, right? We were out with the kids playing and doing things. But now I think it's just so much of attachment to, because you get to know what's happening in the world through your devices. That's how it is today. I hardly watch the news anymore because I remember my parents starting their day watching the news. They'd be doing all their work with the headlines running in the background. You know, that's how they start the day. But now it's really hard to like shut down, like you're saying, completely, because that is your way of knowing what's happening around you and staying up to date on current affairs and things. But I think it's hard to. I think it would be. It's just hard to like shut down, like you're saying, like completely, like zero. Like
What I found helpful is my phone is always on silent, and I've turned off notifications for most apps, most group chats, unless I'm tagged in something. And then instead of like having a push notification, because I find it overwhelming, and this really happened during the pandemic where I found it very overwhelming with people who wanted to stay in contact like a lot, that I ended up, instead of push notifications, right? You know, you get pinged when something is happening. I have pull notifications, which means I have everything turned off and I have to go check to see if anything's happening. And that's helped me, and people know at this point, like, you may not hear from me after a certain time, because I was like, I'll respond within 24 hours. That's kind of my thing right now, just to give some space, because I find it so easy to just be like, especially in our community where there's something always happening and you've made friends in the community, you could always be texting somebody. You could always be helping somebody with, something related to Power Platform. And you can't be all things to all people at all times. So I like to be able to, when my phone's on silent, I just leave it in another room and go do something else. And when I come back to a million notifications, I'm like, oh, we can ignore it for another like several hours. It's overwhelming now. And so I just try to answer texts like at the beginning of the day, at the end of my day, and anything in between may or may not happen. But if it's not urgent, I think that's like protecting your energy, I think it's very, very helpful to be able to do that. And
on the flip side, I feel like I do this where sometimes if I need a break, like I have all my notifications turned off just like you, right? Because that kind of makes you manage your time pretty well, because you're like, you don't get to see anything, and so you dedicate time to go in and look at things. But I sometimes find it a good break to actually go in and look at stuff when I need a break, right? Like had a long day at work, and you're like, okay, let's shut down for a minute. Let's go do something different. That I, go into social media or look at things, and then gives you a little bit of diversion. I think it helps both ways, right? It does this like the pros and cons to it, and but I think it's just the main thing is time management, right? Figuring out how do you manage your time. There's work, there's your things that you're passionate about, and then there's family, and then the rest of the things that you want to do. And you've just got 24 hours on a day.
Yeah, that I felt a couple weeks ago that I was playing Tetris with like my work calendar and my personal calendar, and I was like, "Ooh, I know I'm overscheduled." But I'm like, "Can you move this dinner to here or this video chat to here?" And I'm like, "You know what? I think it's time to turn it down a notch and go away." Yeah, I'm planning to go hiking tomorrow with a friend of mine I haven't seen in several months. I think the last time I saw him, we took his son hiking, and this might have been in like January or so. So there are, in my area, within half an hour's distance, a lot of places to go hiking. So he's spending the weekend out in like on the outskirts of Shenandoah National Park. And so there's a park that's about an hour from me, from an hour's drive. And he's like, "Hey, do you want to meet up, go for a hike and go for lunch?" And I was like, "That sounds great." And so that's what we're going to do, is spend the day out in nature tomorrow.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, which will be really nice. I haven't been on a hike in a little bit now. So yeah.
It's a good way to shut down too, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, your phone, like half the time you don't get signal anyway, so there's nothing to check on, and it's nice just to, after a while, that mindfulness of just like being in the space. And now that the trees are all like green and whatnot, it's just you're existing in nature. So,
that was a great question, though, Peter. I think it's kind of like just an ongoing process of figuring out
work in progress.
Yes,
definitely. I was off work this week. I took some time off.
Good for you.
I shut down my work computer, put my out of office on, turned off the emails, didn't look at anything. Twitter's the thing that gets me though. But I was quite good. In that I didn't really do anything. Because there was an announcement from Microsoft of a new product relevant to me, Entra, came out, and I was like, "Oh, I must blog about this." I'm like, no.
Yeah, I think that's when your inner child comes out, and you're like, "Okay, now I've got to try this."
Yeah. But I resisted. I did well. I was quite proud of myself.
That's awesome.
Good. I'm glad you took some time off. I'm getting ready to take. Actually, in a week, I will be off myself for a week,
important.
And my boss.
Recharge the batteries.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be writing an adoption plan for a client and for Power Platform. And he was like, "Just to make it clear, you were not to touch this document at all while you're away." And I was like, "I wasn't planning on it, so thank you." Like, I am not bringing my work computer. I don't even have Outlook on my phone. I just use browser to dissuade me from looking at anything after hours. So that's it. He doesn't have to worry about it. I'm like, "Oh, great." Because I was like, I'm going to be dreaming about this plan, because originally it was due a couple days after I got back. And I was like, 70-page document that I'm going to be drafting. And he was like, "Don't worry about it. We've also pushed out the date." And I was like, "This is excellent."
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing in disguise when you have your workplace that values the work-life balance.
Yes. I love that.
Have to be. It's a gift to have workplaces that value that. It's
so
rare to come by, and I think it works out pretty well, because that is what makes the employees productive. So
completely agree. Anyhow, I think we had better give you some time back in your day. We've been chatting for a good hour and almost 20 minutes, but it's felt so much quicker than that. It's been so much fun. It's been lovely to meet you virtually. I'm so glad you've taken the time to join us, and I'm really, really chuffed to bits that we've got to talk about something that we don't often get to talk about on the show, which is the Power Platform and all that good stuff. So before we finish up, though, is there anything you'd like to share with the listeners and viewers, and how can they? Well, you've got your Twitter handle on there, but how else can they reach you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, sure. I think Twitter, and you can search me up by my name on LinkedIn. So I'm always happy to help in the best way I can. So feel free to reach out to me. I enjoy helping people in whatever part of their journeys they're in, and you know that I enjoy the fusion space of being able to merge these two worlds. So I'm always happy to help. And thanks to you guys. It was an absolute pleasure talking to both of you. I've
Thanks for
just
saying
enjoyed this conversation. It just felt like it was a Saturday morning, just talking. I've never met Peter, but it's the first time I'm meeting Peter. And Azure, I've known you for quite a while, but you guys make it feel like we've known each other like for years.
that.
Talking about things. And so I love the show. I love this idea of having this fireside kind of chat style where you're just talking about things that you like and making things so relatable. I think that's something that everybody would enjoy, especially when you can listen into a conversation and listen and hear things that you can relate to. And I think that's awesome. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we want the show to be. We've met so many amazing people on it that we would not have met if not for this community, if not for the technology. Ironically, a little bit because of COVID as well. I think that, but some good had to come out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. Azure, any closing thoughts from you before we wind up?
No, things are good. Find some time to disconnect this weekend.
Yes.
Everybody who is listening, please find some space for yourself. Turn off your phone, go out in nature, wear some sunscreen, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time.
Stuff. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/c/cloud conversations, on Twitter at cloudcons365, and I think that's it. And obviously, you can reach out to us all on Twitter and LinkedIn in person as well. Myself and Azure and Rue and Kat as well. So again, thank you, Geetha. Thank you, Azure. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time in Cloud Conversations. Take care.
All right, take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.